So the Heritage Classic, what's it like? Roll the intro. Morning, and today we're on a guided ride with Harley Davidson, and I'm on the Heritage Classic, and it's the first time I've ever ridden a Heritage Classic. It's a bike I've always liked the look of, with the classic styling, but it's very difficult to get a test ride on because very few dealers have one in stock as a demo. So yeah, there's this local event down at Rikers in Box Hill, and I thought I'd come along and try this out. So it's a 40-minute ride, and as you can see it's staggered formation, so it's going to be quite interesting. I don't know how much I'm going to get out of it, but first impressions are it's super comfortable, really comfortable. It takes a little bit to get used to with these handlebars, I've got to be honest. They're a little bit, I find them a little bit washy in comparison with the Sport Glide. I don't find the steering quite as precise as the Sport Glide, but I don't know if that's just me, because obviously I've amended the Sport Glide or modified the Sport Glide quite a lot, especially with regard to the suspension and the handling, suspension and the handlebars. So this is a completely stock bike, and the suspension isn't necessarily sent up for me, but it feels nice and soft, probably a little bit too soft for any sort of performance, but certainly comfortable. But the riding position is lovely, I must admit. The position of these bars, they are, I would say, just below chest height, but they've got a nice sweep back on them, so the handlebars come back at you with a nice angle, and certainly comfortable for mile crunching, which I think this bike is predominantly aimed at. That sort of riding is meant for touring, but has the capability of street riding as well, but it's obviously a lot lighter than the big tourers. So it's on the soft tail platform, so yeah, it's very comfortable, and I think this is what this bike is aimed at. It's aimed more towards touring, the touring market, but on the lighter platform of the soft tail. So if you don't think you can handle the big touring bikes, then this will probably be the bike you would look at to do touring, because it's got this detachable front windscreen, and it's got front loading panniers as well. They all come as stock, so it is set up for touring, there's no doubt about that. And in comparison to the Sport Glide, which is the same because it comes with a mini bikini fairy, not as effective as this, certainly not as effective as this screen that we've got on the Heritage, but it's more of a sport and modern take on a mini tourer as opposed to the Heritage, which is more along the classic lines of the 50s and 60s bikes that this is derived from. So it's a beautiful looking bike. There's certain things I don't like about the bike. Well, as I say, there's certain things. There's only one thing I really don't like about the bike, and that is the plastic knobbly bits or rubber knobbly bits that come on the seat and the bags. I think they just look tacky to me. Personally, I prefer the cleaner look of the Sport Glide. but the styling of this bike. So going back, what else does it come with? It comes with all the usual things you'd expect for touring. It's got full-size it's got full-size floorboards, which are extremely comfortable, as you can see here. It's got cruise control, 6-speed gearbox, and it's just, yeah, lovely. It's got the 114 engine as opposed to the Sport Glide, which has got the 107, so it's got plenty of torque and plenty of grunt, there's no doubt about that. But it just feels a little less powerful than my Sport Glide for some reason. But let's open it up and see. Let's open the second gear. Yeah, I mean, it's got enough, but for the 114 I would expect it to have a little bit more. Certainly I'd expect it to have a little bit more torque. But as I say, I'm comparing it against my Sport Glide, which is a 107, but it's got the torque cam stage 2 in it. But this, with the suspension and the seat, is very plush. It's extremely comfortable. There's no doubt about that. And regards to weight, I think this comes in around about, I think 13 or 14 kilos wet more than the Sport Glide. At I think this is 330, where the Sport Glide is 317. But the seat is definitely more plush on the stock version. And so I'm not going to go through all the specs and what the bike has and what the bike hasn't got, because that's easy enough for you to find out just by logging onto the HD website and getting all the technical specs that you need. This is just more of a first ride impression from somebody that normally rides a Sport Glide. That's short because I'm 5'6", and this low seat height is really easy, and as I say, with my Sport Glide I've changed the suspension. I've put the next suspension up, so I think it's an inch higher than this, and that inch of suspension really does make a lot of difference on reaching the floor. There's no doubt about that. But the handling is good, but I would class it as a little bit wallowy, to be honest, in comparison to the other bikes I've test ridden. So I've test ridden out the 23 models. I've test ridden the Breakout, the Lowrider ST, the Lowrider, and the Fat Boy. And what I would compare this more along the lines with the Fat Boy, I would think, as to riding position and regarding to handling. But I think the Fat Boy might be slightly better handling. This just feels really wallowy, and I think I don't know if the tyres are a little bit more chunky, or the tyres aren't up, or they're not inflated properly. I don't know, but it does feel really wallery and a really soft ride. It's ideal for what it's designed for, just to say, just touring. I think if you want to have fun on the bike, I would say go with one of the Softails, because I think that they will give you more smile per mile than this would. This is just yeah, comfortable. It's a comfortable bike. So the exhaust note's okay for a stock bike, but if you well, it's up to you, but I would definitely, if it was something I was looking at, it would definitely need an exhaust of some system, some description, whether it be a slip-on or a full exhaust, to make it sound a little bit more of a Harley. But I love floorboards, and that's my conclusion. Whatever bike I ride now, if that hasn't got floorboards, I don't like it as much, because the floorboards just give you the option just to move your feet around depending on the riding style, so you can actually, as I say, now I've got my feet underneath me like a mid control, because I'm not needing to touch the brakes or the gears, and it's super comfortable. But it's got forward controls on the bike itself, so if you want to, you can stretch yourself out and relax on those long journeys. The seating position is extremely comfortable, and I've said it before, but I'm sitting straight upright. There's no pressure on my back, no pressure on my shoulders, and the seat is super comfortable, and it's got a nice little lip at the back that's just supporting my lower back. So it is yeah, out of the box, it's probably the most comfortable Harley Davidson I've ridden. But for that, you are going to forego on some fun. Now, going through these country lanes, obviously it's a little bit difficult to give you a real impression because of this staggered formation, but the bike is light enough and flickable. You would have no problems down country lanes, as I say. It's just that the handling isn't as firm or true as with a lot of Softails, or mostly all the other Softails that I've ridden. But the suspension is super comfortable. These roads aren't the best by far, but the suspension is just eating up the imperfections in the road, and that goes down to, say, the comfortness of the bike. Really, for that, it's by far the most comfortable Softail I've ridden. It's lovely down these roads. The sweeping bends, really nice. It's the thing with Harley Davidsons, they certainly seem to gather a crowd. You saw there, we just went through a local village and there was people out looking at us coming past, giving us a wave and a thumbs up, which in a quiet Surrey village you would think they wouldn't do that. You don't want these loud Harley Davidsons riding through my village, but no, love it. It's great fun riding a Harley Davidson, whatever bike you're on. And riding behind this Sport Glide, it shows me what the Sport Glide looks like from behind. It's nice. Let's see what this wind buffeting's like. This screen is really effective. They say I'm 5'6" on this, and I think it's probably a little bit too high because it's just cutting my vision. But it's good because it's clear. But if it got dirty or rainy, then I'll be struggling to see completely over the top of this. But it's certainly keeping the wind off of my chest. So there's a big tick for the windshield. So in summary, would I buy the Harley Davidson Heritage Classic? And my answer, honestly, probably for the first time, is no. Not based on this test ride anyway. I'd need to do a test ride on my own and on a different bike to see if the characteristics of this bike are the real characteristics of the model, or if it's just this one isolated bike. Because, as I say, it's the most comfortable bike that I've sat on out of the showroom ever. There's no denying that. The handling, although good, I find is a little bit wallowy, not conducive to aggressive riding at all. And again, caveat that I know this isn't what the bike is meant for, but looking at it from my perspective, if I was just doing long touring miles, would I buy it? Yes, but that's not my bag. I do a lot of this type of riding with the occasional touring. And based on this test ride and this particular bike, I wouldn't buy it. No. Every other Softail that I've ridden provides more smiles per mile than this, I would say. This is just a very sedate ride, and that surprises me with a 114 engine. And the fact that it is only another 13 kilos more than my Sport Glide. So not disappointed in the slightest, because I've always wanted to ride this bike, but disappointed that it's not made me smile as much as the other Softails. So out of all the Softails I've ridden, and there's been plenty, most of them now, I've still got to do the Fat Bob and the Street Bob. They're the only two Softails I haven't managed to ride as yet. But the only ones I haven't got on with and I say no, I wouldn't want to buy are the Classic, the Heritage Classic, and the Softail Slim, which is strange because they're the two bikes, when I look at aesthetically, they're the two most pleasing bikes I find. So for me, yeah, a bit strange, but the heart wants what the heart wants, and unfortunately the heart wouldn't want to be spending £24,000 on this. So that wraps this video up. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry I couldn't come up with a bit more enthusiastic news, but that's just for me. As I say, that's my thoughts on this bike. If you're interested in a Heritage Classic, any Harley Davidson is a fantastic bike, so contact your local dealer, get down there, throw your leg over one, go out for a test ride and see what you think for yourself, because they are fantastic bikes and it depends on what you're looking for. But for me, it's just it's not the one. But anyway, I hope you liked it. If you did, please press like, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell for future videos that are coming up, of which there are many, mainly around the Harley Davidsons. I've got a few more test rides set up, so they'll be coming up over the few months. But yeah, I really appreciate you watching. Thanks for sticking around if you're still here, but I hope to see you again. But again, really appreciate you watching. Thanks again, ride safe, stay safe, and I'll catch you next time.